Hi everyone, if some of you don't know me, my name is Clarice. I'm 17, turning 18 this year. I'm in year 12. I've been going to Fungus for quite a while now, since I was in year 7, so you do the maths. I will be doing a testimony today, so sit back, relax and enjoy. As I look back at my life, I see it as a pretty happy childhood. I had a really big house, had a dog and a families together, and we lived in a good neighborhood and everything was just, it was perfect. And as I look back, those were the times that I treasure the most. My family looked perfect on the outside. We were always happy, and it was a really warm atmosphere when people were around. But underneath the surface of it all, you could clearly see that there were things going on that weren't quite right, and there was lots of arguments and so many flaws that I just didn't want to believe it. I tried to ignore it as much as I could because I really wanted a big happy family that bad, and I just didn't want to believe that my family could break and fall apart. Every time my parents thought I was asleep, that's when their arguings mostly start. I really didn't like it, so I tried all I could to stop them. I even remember getting all the pocket money I earned from playing the piano and I tried to bribe them into stop their fighting, and I'd cry really loudly to get their attention so that they'd focus on me and not on each other. But it never worked, and I felt like I was so invisible in front of them when they were arguing. They've always just been so cold to each other that as a child it really made me wonder if my parents even loved each other at the start. It was really confusing for me as a child, and I couldn't see why my family was so different to other families. Like my friends' families and parents, they'd be happy with each other, and you could see them, and you know, they held hands when they walked, and they smiled at each other. But that never happened with my family and with my parents. They'd always walk really far apart, and I can't remember a time when they were actually happy together. Whenever my parents had the arguments and talked about the divorce, they'd always say that they would separate soon, but it never happened, and I just believed that, you know, they'd just talk about it and it wouldn't actually happen. But it actually did one day, a long time after, till I was about 10 years old. It was really sudden and out of the blue, and it was the biggest shock of my life. I still remember that day clearly. It was a Thursday afternoon, 14th of December. It was the holidays, and what we usually did was my mum and dad would work in their restaurant while my grandma would take me out and have fun in the city, and then bring me back to the restaurant where mum would drive grandma home and take me back home as well. But that day, when mum took us into the car, I could see that something was wrong, and as we were driving, it was really silent. And I still remember my mum, when she stopped at a red light, she looked back at me and said, "We're never going home again." And I was so shocked that I couldn't speak at all. I could not get a word out of my mouth. I remember looking out the window at the sky and thinking to myself, how could a beautiful day like this turn so ugly? It was a day that really shook me up, and for the rest of my life I'd never forget. Because I sided with mum, I completely shut off dad. That was just easier for me, just to shut him off so that I could be, you know, completely faithfully with mum. Even now it's still not easy to fully get that father-daughter relationship as it was before the divorce. Back then, because my dad felt like he had no one on his side, he just became really confused, and he was so stressed with everything that whenever he was angry, he turned really scary. He was never scary to me, but I remember every time my brother and my dad fought, my dad turned into a different person. He released this violent behavior. Still remember those days where my brother and my dad would have a fight, and during the argument he'd grab out a chair to throw at my brother, or he'd grab a knife. And I know it's not entirely my dad's fault. My brother has this habit of feeding the fire. It was still really shocking to me, and because of that, it made it easier for me to really forget about him and really shut my dad off. Yeah, growing up was hard. Because I was a really confused person with all their unanswered questions, I felt as if I was just so lost. Back then, I'd spend a lot of time with my cousin. I haven't seen her since, but back then you could see that, you know, her and her whole family, they weren't very nice people, and they were really bad influences on me. They were sort of like barbarians. Truly. When I saw my cousin, I saw that her life might not be perfect and good, but they still seemed really happy. They still managed to smile and laugh a lot. So I guess I wanted to smile as well. So I chose the path of them. Not only them, but I'd also find other bad influences like them at school, outside of school, and soon enough I became like them. I felt that there wasn't any good in me. I just felt like I was really low life or something. I felt like the people I was hanging around with, they didn't care about me, they didn't care about what I thought. Because of that, I fell into a really big depression. I'd questioned the meaning of life every day. It was traumatizing back then. It felt like I had no future for myself, and you know, whenever I thought about my future, I'd see myself on the streets. I just had no hope for myself. I'd even often think about suicide a lot. I'd think about grabbing a knife or jumping out in front of a car. But every time I put my mind to it, I chickened out. Whenever bad things happened, I'd always tell myself that it happened because I wasn't pretty enough. I really beat myself up when things go wrong. I always thought that I was really ugly, and to the severe point where I thought I was literally poisonous. It sounds silly, I know, but I literally thought I was poisonous and that people shouldn't hang around me, and that I don't deserve friends and I don't deserve to live. I felt like I was a parasite. Those were my sad times, and it's an experience I wouldn't want to feel again. After a few years, when I came into year 7, I was invited by my brother to Fungus Youth Group camp. I guess when I went to camp, it wasn't the sermons or the teachings that really struck me, it was the people there. When I met the people at Fungus Youth Group, everybody just seemed so happy, and I just felt like they had their life together. During the end of the camp, I was thinking about what makes them and me so different. I just really wanted to be like them. I wanted to be happy, and as I thought about it, I realized that they had God in their lives. and I did it. That just gave me a curiosity for God. I wanted to see how my life could change if I met God. I guess that's what made me go back to Fungus Youth Group Friday nights, and it was a life-changing experience. As I went back to Fungus Youth Group a lot, I saw my bad influences disappear away from me. My dad suddenly had a fight with his brother, and then because of that I haven't seen them since. And the friends that I had that were bad influences on me started disappearing too. Some of them left school, and others moved to a different state, and others moved into different friendship groups. My life started to come together. I was gaining good friends and friends that really encouraged me and supported me. I found happiness when I got to know God, and when I believed in Him. It was the best experience in my life, and I am so thankful that my life changed because of Him. I am so thankful I'm not living in that misery anymore, and I just became the happy person you know me today. When I look back at my life, things looked pretty dark. It was going all downhill for me, and after I met God, He completely changed me as a person. And it is a scary thing to completely have your life changed, but whenever you include God in your life, the change is always for the better. I guess what I want you guys to take out of this is God is powerful, and He changes lives, just like He changed my life. I know a lot of people think that God is just this man in the sky, someone who observes things and doesn't do anything, but what I've learned is He is powerful enough to change lives, and not just one life but multiple lives. So as you guys leave here tonight, I hope that some of the things I've said leaves with you, because God has really changed my life and made it for the better, and I hope that if you come to God and talk to Him, He will change yours as well. Well, that is the end of my testimony. I just want to say a few thank yous. Thank you, Fungus Youth Group, for being such a great support. You all mean a lot to me, so thank you. I'd also like to thank the pastors, Pastor Ruth and Pastor Quinton. Thank you for making this youth group possible and being great role models. Thank you, leaders, for always being there for us, always being so caring and helping a lot. I'd also like to thank Joanne, my bestest friend. Thank you for editing this video. Thank you for being such a great person. I'm really happy to have met you. I'd also like to thank Sean for coming in even though he wasn't working and helping me set up all this. So thank you, and thank you so much everyone for listening to my testimony. I hope that you'll be happy like me.